Hey there, Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. I had the opportunity to sit down with the folks over at Crawl Space Ninja of Charlotte. I got a chance to talk to Doug, James, and Mason, and we are going to go through a lot of questions that I had for them about soda blasting and mold and procedures and indoor air quality. I feel like it's some great information. Sit back and relax and take a listen to these guys explain exactly what soda blasting is. Is it cost effective? How is it different than other methodologies when it comes to addressing mold? Hope you like this content. Hope you'll subscribe. Mason, let's start with you. Tell me, I don't know if you've ever done this before. I want y'all to be comfortable. So usually you get comfortable by talking a little bit. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with the company and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, my name is Mason Gordon. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Charlotte originally. I went to high school right down the road at Providence High School. I went to college at East Carolina, and I'm a little bit of a unique case. I'm still in school. I transferred to online school about 2 years ago, and I'm still taking classes at East Carolina University. I started with the company about 6 months ago. Doug, our owner, I know him through a personal connection, and so I started about 6 months ago through that, and I've come to know James and the rest of our crew, and had a good time so far.
That's great. James,
Yeah,
you the same?
Yeah. I've been with Crawl Space Ninja for just over 3 years now, and been in the crawl space industry for, let's see, I always forget. I think it's been 6 years actually. Yeah.
Very good. Hey Doug, how you doing?
What's going on?
What's happening?
I see these two every day. I don't see you every day. So,
well, you're probably seeing the best ones every day you want to see anyway. So, yeah. So,
Michael, how you been?
I'm good. I'm good. I just got back from Nashville. My oldest and I went to a concert in Nashville. So he plays bass and he's not in a band or anything. He plays at church, but he loves all kinds of music from country to hip hop to metal. So we went to a concert out in Nashville, and it was really good. It was a lady called Poppy. I don't know if you ever heard of her before, but she's a metal screaming lady.
All right.
It was a really cool venue. Yeah, it was called it was a bowling alley. I've never seen anything like it before. It was a 2-floor bowling alley with a venue inside of it. So it was super cool, small, venue. It was her and she had a small opener band. And it was really cool. We were going to fly down, but the weather wasn't that great, so we wound up driving down. So we got back yesterday afternoon. So good. How have you been, Doug?
Active bowling alley. I mean, it's or an old bowling alley.
No, they were bowling. It's like, I'm like, well, did they have to pay to see her? Because they can see her, and I had to pay to get in here. So it was a little weird. I never seen anything like it before in my life.
That'd be a good lesson. Rent your bowling shoes first next time.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty cool. So, and then him and my wife are going to go see Ghost in July back in Nashville, but that'd be a little bit bigger of a venue. I think they're going to the auditorium out there for that. Ghost is a little bigger.
It's a good show. I saw them about 4 years ago. It's like Marilyn Manson meets Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah. Ghost is pretty cool. We saw Kill Switch Engaged up in I always want to say Paducah, but that's not where we went. It was Corbin, Kentucky. There's like a small venue up there. We saw them, and anyway, it's I'm getting a little old to be standing around getting in a mosh pit. So I kind of sit over on the side and get beer thrown on me every once in a while. That's about it. But anyway, pretty cool experience.
Don't sell yourself short. I'd go in a mosh pit with you.
Yeah, well, he was in there. I wasn't. I was holding his jacket.
There you go. Yeah.
Whew, that's
more
a workout.
too.
You go to the mosh pit, you're good for the gym for a few days.
Oh yeah. He was in there pretty good. And apparently, people dress up like bananas. I don't know if y'all ever been to one recently, but there was a couple of dudes in banana suits, and they're like getting the crap beat out of them in a mosh pit. It's a thing.
Okay.
And Mason's our guy to keep us culturally relevant.
Yeah, Mason, you should know about this stuff. Come on.
That's outside of my scope, guys. That's definitely not my niche. That's definitely not my niche.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was good stuff. All right. So, So I made this little list, 10 compelling soda blasting talking points. And, I will admit that I asked AI to kind of help me do this because I wanted to know, I've been doing this forever. Right. And I know what I know.
Yeah.
But there's homeowners that probably have different questions than I think they have. So I wanted to see what AI had to say about this kind of stuff. So that's why I asked it to kind of give me some topics that a homeowner might be interested in asking. So that's where this list kind of came from.
Great.
Let's start with James. How about we start with you? James, you've been obviously doing this 6 years with 2 different companies now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is soda blasting and why is that ideal for mold? And what I mean by that is not only for us as the soda blast store, but why is it ideal for a homeowner who has mold in the crawl space of their basement? Why is soda blasting ideal for them?
Yeah, so soda blasting is basically we take baking soda and we pressurize it and we strip the very, very top layer of the wood. And the great thing about soda blasting is that it removes not only the surface mold, but the mold at its root. And it makes the wood look essentially brand new or as new as can be. I found that the greatest success for homeowners is when if your house is a little bit older, say it's from the 70s or even older than that. Sometimes, we soda blast on 80-year-old homes and the wood looks incredible. I mean, way better results than you get with any other method of mold remediation as far as removal of mold.
That's right. So basically, whenever, I first discovered soda blasting, I was trying to find a way to strip the mold off, right? Because it seems like every other company out there, they're what I call a spray and pray, right? Mm-hmm. They just spray it. A lot of times they'll even leave the insulation in place. They'll leave the wood damp, all that. We've got our protocol that we follow for all that kind of stuff. But I wanted something, like you said, to make the crawl space look good and to almost reset the wood. So, if you're in the spray and pray column and you go down there and you spray the mold and maybe you kill it, maybe you don't. Mm-hmm. How do you know if new mold has come back? Because you don't know, right? And that's what soda blasting does. It gives us that clean surface so that we know if something does come back, then this is new, this is fresh. There must be a water problem or something like that going on, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you don't actually physically remove the mold, your only hope is to take pictures of what it looks like at a certain point and then compare it, down the road. And and you're just guessing, unless you can maybe get it tested and you send it off to a lab and maybe it's dead. It's just, you're absolutely hoping it's taken care of. And I've always heard that, hope is not really a strategy. It's not something that with soda blasting, it's gone. It's completely gone. It's really remarkable.
That's right. Mason, do you have anything to add about that? I mean, as far as what you've seen, has it been pretty amazing, the results that you've been able to see with that?
Yeah, soda blasting is just something that, since seeing this and learning this industry and learning how we take care of mold remediation, soda blasting seems like the number one way and the number one process for how to remediate that mold. Not only does it remediate the mold, but often we have to explain to customers that when there's mold and when there's a presence of mold over an extended period of time, it tends to stain the wood. So for a lot of customers, like you were talking about with the spray and pray company, even if they're doing something like using a wire brush to wipe it down or using towels to wipe it down, that wood is still going to be stained because of the presence of mold. So soda blasting is so amazing because we can make it to where a homeowner goes down and depending on, the way that they use the soda blaster, we can even try and help with some of that wood staining as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I want to touch on that just for a second too. You talked about the method of soda blasting versus a wire brush or some kind of brushing. The crawl space is not always ideal for those brush or wipe off or HEPA vacuum type scenarios. And I don't know which of you want to speak on this, but if you've got, say, for example, hardwood and you got nails going through there, or Hey there, Michael Church, founder of Crawl Space Ninja. Do you have a crawl space or a basement, or perhaps your home is suffering from some type of indoor air quality issue? I want to encourage you to check out my book, Crawl Space Repair Myths Busted, available on Amazon. This is a great book for any homeowner that is concerned about indoor air quality, mold, moisture. Whether you're on a crawl space or a basement or a slab-built house, this is a great book, great information. I encourage you to check it out. Again, the name of the book is Crawl Space Repair Myths Busted, now available on Amazon.
You got like a sharp corner. I mean, do you see the wire brushing and all that being able to be effective at getting the mold off around those areas? James,
No.
do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. I've personally at a previous company I worked at, we spent some time, working with the crews, and they would spray the mold, and then you hand wipe it with either towels or rags or wire brushes. But when there's nails, I mean, not only is it's really hard to get it actually removed, but it kills your hands. Even if you're wearing thick gloves, I mean, every time you're going to get bloody. It's really difficult to get the process to actually get it removed, and also for whoever does the work, it's hard on them too.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't, it wasn't effective. I mean, before I could do soda blasting, that was my preferred method, was wiping it off. I feel like that's even better than HEPA, because in my opinion, HEPA vacuums are not powerful enough to suck mold off of wood, especially that damp mold, right? You guys have seen that before. I mean, imagine going to a tree, and this, if you're a homeowner and you want to test this out, go find a mossy or a lichen covered tree and try to vacuum that off.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So how can a mold guy go down there, or a mold lady go down there and vacuum? I mean, mold, it's like sucked on. It's fighting for its life.
Yeah.
It doesn't want you to take it off.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
it's resilient. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mason.
I was just gonna say, yeah, mold is resilient. It's gonna try and find out the areas that it can live and be undisturbed. It's gonna try and find the best places that it wants to be, and where it makes it the hardest to remediate it. And that's why the soda blaster is so important. Like you were talking about, you can't really get into a corner, especially if you add, like James was talking about, some nails in that corner. It's hard to move towels, rags, brushes, anything through there. That soda can just go right there. It's number one.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, let's talk a little bit about sodium bicarbonate itself. I've got a question here to ask, or a question here from a homeowner that asks, is it safe for my family, my pets, and my home? And I just want to be cautious on the word safe. All right. Because even though sodium bicarbonate is a food grade material, it still requires certain PPE, personal protective equipment and those kind of things to be able to utilize it effectively. So which one of you want to speak on that safe aspect with our customers, or with our homeowners?
James,
Go ahead. Sure. Well, it is, I believe it's the same stuff you put in a cake when you bake, right? So, I mean, I tell people you can lick it if you want. Now, when you soda blast, there is probably going to be some dust that comes into your house from baking soda, particles that come into your house. Some houses have more, some houses have less. Every house is different. And when we do that, we do have an air scrubber running in the home just to help purify the air. So yeah, I mean, it is very safe, but you are going to see some particles probably coming in the house.
Very good.
Mason? Yeah, I think that is just what I was, going to say, is that, for families that are asking, are curious about what it's going to do inside the house, every home is different. Wood warps and contracts through different temperatures and moisture. So we definitely see homes that soda comes up through the subfloor. But like we were talking about, if the soda blaster wasn't that powerful and that good at remediating it, then I don't think that we would have that problem. Like James mentioned, we put that air scrubber in, we come in, we tape up all the receivers of the ducts on the first floor. We ask that you turn your AC off. So we take steps to try and remediate the residue inside the home. And then even with that residue being inside the home, it's a safe, non-toxic residue that if anything is just a little inconvenient.
That's right. Well, and the reason why I said safe in quotes was because, everybody would think, oh, water's good for you, right? Water's safe. Well, you can actually die from water, right? If you can drown, but there's also something called water toxicity, which means that you can drink so much water that it can kill you. Mm-hmm. So it's still a chemical. It's still a product that has to be utilized correctly. It is a high alkaline base, and mold is typically acidic, so it likes to kill an acidic mold. But like you said, if you drink alkaline water, if you go into the grocery store and buy alkaline water, that's sodium bicarbonate that they added in that water to make it alkaline. If you're taking a Tums or a Rolaids or something like that, that's sodium bicarbonate. And then the opposite of that is if you're kind of stopped up a little bit, it can become a laxative. So, it's food grade. That's the whole point. But, you still have to be cautious with it. You don't want to, but like you said, if your dog or something goes down there after we soda blast, we're not using, EPA registered chemicals that would kill that animal if they accidentally got into it. So that's the nice thing about it, right? Yeah. So now it will brown your grass a little bit. Yeah. I mean, if you guys have ever seen that happen around the doorway of the crawl space, it will brown that grass a little bit, won't it? Doug, were you going to comment on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just as a business owner, it just feels good putting our people in a safe place. I talked, and James, you would know a lot because you worked at other companies, and Mason, you would know a lot because you work with our crews every day. But some of these other processes of treating or trying to kill mold, not great for the workers either. I mean, it's probably a little bit tougher on us to train these guys up so that they know how. Most of these guys will come to us even if they have crawl-space experience. They've never touched a soda blaster before, so we have to train them up on the front end. It's a little tougher for us, but I mean, I feel good knowing that my people are going into a home not only trying to improve the air quality and the investment for the homeowner, but that it's a safe, really good green process for our employees too. I'm not putting them in a spot where they're breathing in dangerous chemicals and those kind of things.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point, Doug. And the flip side of that, people always ask me, well, why don't you use dry ice blasting? And to your point, Doug, well, dry ice blasting would kill my staff, or could, because it's exchanging oxygen for I think carbon dioxide. Yeah. So we have not had a work comp claim due to the ingestation of soda. So we're good to go there, right? It might have had some people run to the bathroom if they decided to eat it, but other than that,
I tell you, the guys, after you soda blast, your skin and your hair are in impeccable shape.
Hey, why do you think my hair looks like this, James? I rub soda in my hair every day.
There you go.
Kidding. I don't do it. All right. James, how effective is soda blasting at killing and removing mold? Can you just, that was one of the questions our homeowners are asking us. What do you think about that?
It's the best process I've ever seen, or the best process I know of at removing mold growth from the surface. So, we work with houses, some are brand new. Like I've worked under a new construction home that developed mold while it's being built. And, obviously it removes mold there really well, but I'm really impressed whenever we work under houses that are 100 years old. And I mean, when you see that mold being stripped away and how that wood looks, that old growth wood after we're done, it's really remarkable. I'm sure there's plenty of pictures online that we could find, but it looks great. So it's the best process I know of. I've researched.
Yeah, very good. Mason, you got anything to add about that?
Yeah, just reiterating what James said. I would compare it to if you have a very dirty concrete surface and you pressure wash it. Just going from seeing that dark concrete to light concrete. It's the same thing with the wood. Like James said, when you have an old house, that is exacerbated, and it is like night and day. And it's honestly satisfying. The soda blaster is just so effective at taking mold off, regardless of how old or how heavy or how present it is.
That's a great analogy. The pressure washing analogy is fantastic. So good.
Yeah.
Job.
Well, I definitely have a video or two in my camera roll of us we did a house one time, and we also ended up doing soda blasting on the joists of his porch because all of the floor and the wood was taken up. They were just renovating the whole entire house. So we were able to soda blast outside, and it was easier to get a video. My guys got a video, and it's like you're pressure washing the wood, but we do it with soda, and it remediates the mold. It's night and day.
That's great. Well, please send that to me. I'll include it in this video.
No doubt.
Yeah, one of the other things, I don't know if you all have had any experience with this, but we got a lot of cabins, log cabins in the Smokies, and I know Paul has done this up in Delaware. You can soda blast the outside of log cabins, especially if they've gotten all mossy. Because usually these cabins are in the woods, and it's shaded and damp and mossy, and if you want to restain your cabin, so soda is very good, and it doesn't leach. Like if you were to pressure wash that cabin with water, you're forcing moisture into that wood that could grow mold later. It's okay to pressure wash concrete, but I certainly wouldn't want to use that on wood a whole lot, because then you're just forcing that water into the grain. So that's where soda blasting is really good. But by the time the soda comes out the end of that nozzle, it's almost a powder. It's so dry. So it's a very good alternative to a wet form of removing staining and all that. Very good. All right, I'm gonna start with you on this one, Mason. Will soda blasting prevent the mold from coming back?
So I think my short answer on this one is going to be no. In my opinion, what is going to prevent the mold from coming back is the process that we do after the soda blasting, whether that be insulating the walls, adding plastic to the floor, taping all the seams, and then doing something like that, or just doing maybe a partial and adding plastic to the floor, depending on what the project needs. The soda blaster is going to be the most effective at getting the mold off of the wood, but from there, the work that we do after is what prevents that from coming back.
That's right. James, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, same. It's just important to remove the reason why the mold is there. Because sometimes we'll come in and soda blast after someone's had a prolonged plumbing leak also. And maybe the mold is not there because of prolonged humidity in a crawl space, but maybe they just had a leak there for 6 months they didn't know about. Of course, you want to have that fixed. But the only way to keep the mold from coming back is to remove the reason why it was there, which is moisture.
That is correct. So, I'm always big on humidity. Well, humidity isn't always the reason why there's mold. I mean, like you said, a plumbing leak. So if we were to go down there and we were, real dumb at how mold works, and we were like, hey, we're going to soda blast this crawl space, and we're going to leave the plumbing leaking while we're down there. Well, that's dumb. Everybody'd be like, why don't you stop the plumbing leak? Well, to me, it's the same thing with humidity. If you got high humidity, why would you address the mold without addressing the humidity? Because that high humidity is going to allow that mold to return no matter how much you clean that wood. And one of the other nice things I like that we as Crawl Space Ninja do is adding that protectant. That penetrant is what it's called. It's an X70. It's a silver nanotechnology protectant, but you still have to control moisture and humidity. It's not a standalone product like some of these other products that, if you squirt this on your wood, it'll never grow mold again. That's a lie. That's a lie. If you don't control moisture and humidity, it doesn't matter how good that product is, mold is going to come back. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah. If you go to the shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and you'll find a ton of products that say they clean and prevent mold. 2-in-1. It's kind of like 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. You ask anybody, those don't really work very well. The same with mold products like that.
Yeah. I'll say that my time with the company, which has been about 6.5 months, we've done projects where we've gone out, installed plastic, a dehumidifier, and that's been it. There's never been a project where we've just gone out and soda blasted. You know, we aim at remediating the reason why the mold was there in the first place.
That's right. That's right. So you gotta have that process of either removing standing water through the flooding, fixing the plumbing leak, sealing off the vents, and installing that dehumidifier along with a vapor barrier. It's all a process, right? So that's great. I appreciate you all sharing that with me. Now, here's another one. All right, let's see how many videos of mine you all have watched.
Oh boy.
Okay, so which is better, bleach or sodium bicarbonate at getting rid of mold?
I mean, James, I know the answer. I think that you could probably answer the why better.
Well, you're the new guy, so let's see what you got.
Okay, yeah, I like that. So the question was, why does the sodium bicarbonate prevent mold better than bleach? Correct.
Actually, which is better at killing the mold, the bleach or the sodium bicarbonate? Which one would you think would be better?
Just gonna use logic here. As far as killing the mold, I'm gonna say something that has an ability to, on a chemical level, remediate it. I want to say bleach. You know, when we soda blast, in my mind, what we're doing is we're taking the mold from where it is, which is on the wood, and we're taking it off of that. From there, after that, we apply our Anabet cleaner, which I know is a peroxide-based cleaner, and in my opinion, that is what kills mold on a chemical level. I'd love for some constructive criticism, though, if that's not incorrect.
James, you got any constructive criticism for him?
Well, I believe a couple things with bleach. Bleach is, what's the percentage of water that makes up bleach? Is it like 97 or 98%?
Pretty high water content.
So you're just introducing even more moisture into the wood and the crawl space. So that's a problem number one. Number two, I believe that the chemical in bleach doesn't evaporate too quickly, or something to do with the contact time on the surface, that it doesn't really have the time on the surface to properly kill the mold. Is that correct, Michael?
That is correct. That is correct. So Mason, it was a loaded question, man. So you should have asked how much bleach or how much chlorine is in the product, because like James was saying, you know, the stuff you use in your laundry, it's only like 3 to 10% chlorine. Okay. Now they do have some things that I use to, you know, bleach my beard. That's a little bit higher. I'm kidding. I don't bleach my beard, obviously, but you know, there are higher chlorine content available. But even then, to James' point, bleach or chlorine evaporates so quickly. They say it doesn't have a long enough contact time to actually kill mold. Okay. And here's the last thing I'm going to say about bleach is, the log cabin industry has written many articles about this, that bleach, even if it did everything that the homeowner wants it to do, and all the you know, old wives' tales that have been told about it over the years, hey, just put bleach on it, all that, even if it did what it was supposed to do, it destroys the lignin of the wood. Okay. And the lignin is the wood's skeletal system. So as a homeowner, do I want to put something that's effective, even if it is effective, on wood so that I can soften the wood and destroy the skeletal system? So those are the three, you know, in my opinion, the three big reasons. Number one, like James was saying, got a lot of water in it. So it's going to evaporate, you know, that moisture, you're just adding water to it, right? Number two, it evaporates super quick. Okay. Like really fast. I mean, unbelievably fast. And then number three is obviously it destroys lignin. And then number four, how much bleach do you want to sniff?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in some crawl spaces where, you know, the DIYer used a bunch of bleach. You can't even stand to be in there.
Right.
Horrible.
And how much of that's coming into the house?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, good try, Mason. That was a good effort, man.
Well, yeah, I'm always trying to learn, but I'm never gonna say what I think you want to hear. I'd always like to try and use my brain first. So I appreciate the constructive criticism.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right. And then if you throw the bleach, or if you do the soda blasting and then you go down there and spray it with vinegar, then you've got the volcano effect going on. I don't know if you want to try that, Doug. Y'all just do that for fun. See if a homeowner lets you do that. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. It like foams out. Have you ever seen one of those volcanoes that the kids used? Yeah. So, all right. Very good.
That doesn't actually sound very fun. It's like a customer, an angry, irate customer.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool for 30 seconds, though.
Yeah. Until it bubbles up into the living space. And Mrs. Jones is going to be upset about that. So, all right. So let's talk about the mess. We mentioned it a little bit before, but let's actually talk about the mess.
Mm.
All right, because I'm sorry, but it's very hard to clean something without making a mess. I mean, I know that seems like a weird thing to say, but when I was a kid and my mom would tell me to clean up my room, it would actually be more messy to start cleaning it up because you're piling stuff and what, right? And that's kind of the way with addressing mold. It's way more messy to yank out all that old plastic and get all that debris out, and the yard's full of debris and everything before the final product, right? So let's talk about what possible mess could come from soda blasting. James, you want to start us off with that one?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but number one, I mean, when we're pressurizing, I mean, those little particles of baking soda are so small, they're going to find any little crevice they can find, to try to come up into the house. Unfortunately, sometimes, there's a decent amount of baking soda that comes into the house. And it's just, we do our very best to avoid that from happening and take every precaution, but sometimes it's just unavoidable. But I always tell people, like, it's a minor inconvenience for a permanent solution. And, it's going to be it's kind of like when you go to the beach and you get sand in every little area you can imagine. And it's kind of like that. But you had a good time at the beach, though, didn't you? You don't go home thinking about cleaning up. And so that's how we kind of treat the soda blasting is, you know what, there's some residue, but we take care of it. And after it's done, then it's over. You never have to worry about it again, as long as you encapsulate it.
That's right. And Mason, you got anything to add about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's my day job is just customers and trying to remediate that and explain that. I think that like James said, that baking soda is the perfect remediation, but because it's so good at what it does, it's going to find every little crack and crevice that it can. I say on trim, on baseboards, if they come out just a little bit, it's going to be an area that soda blast is going to get through. I'd say even not just inside the house, but like you mentioned, when we pull insulation, there's going to be debris in the yard, debris around the door of the crawl space because you're pushing a bunch of insulation through a small area. So yeah, there's a mess and a damage that comes with, like you said, cleaning and doing the job. I think my main goal is to just try and be forefront with that. But like James said, I think that's a very good saying. It's a temporary inconvenience for a permanent solution.
Yeah, and I just try to be as upfront with people as I can. I don't want any of us to go in there and say, "Oh yeah, you'll never have soda in the house," because the one time you say that, it's going to explode in the house. I mean, you're going to miss something, right? And that's what these videos are all about, is educating homeowners on that process. And that's why we, do a lot of things that we do. That's where our methodology has come from, because I have over the years filled up a lot of people's homes with soda.
Yeah.
And it took me a minute to figure out how to prevent or how to get that, under control to where it's as little as it is today. Like, for example, we air seal the subfloor,
right?
To the best we can, but we can't air seal the rim joists until we soda blast. And that's where this baseboard issue that you're talking about comes from, Mason, because usually the baseboard sits on the rim joists of the crawl space. And so people are like, well, why don't you air seal the rim joist? Well, there's usually a lot of mold on the rim joist. If I cover it up with foam board and spray foam before I've had a chance to dry it out and remove that mold, then it can become a problem. So that's why we have to do that. That's just part of it. And the nice thing about baking soda is that if some of it does get in, keep in mind it's alkaline. So it's going to kill anything that it's touching as far as that goes. So those are great answers. Doug, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say what you just said too. I mean, it's like if I'm the homeowner and something's going to get in my house, I'm okay with baking soda. It's not a perfect process. I kind of have a question for you, Michael, because we found that communication and expectation, both of those things, are the two keys to having a better experience, which is why I feel like James, you as an inspector, do a really, really good job of setting that expectation with the homeowner at the initial visit. And Mason, I think you do a really incredible job communicating with the homeowner, kind of holding their hand through the process. I was going to ask you what that looked like, but you beat me to it. You already talked a little bit about, hey, here's what I talked to him about. Here's James, you mentioned the air scrubber. Here's that communication piece. Is that what you found, Michael? You have so much experience. Do you feel like those two things have been the most important?
Absolutely. I've always been under the philosophy of under promise, over deliver, right? And to me, I would rather say, hey, look, Mrs. Jones, you're gonna get soda in the house, and then maybe it's not as bad as she thought.
Yeah.
Versus me trying the opposite, being like, oh yeah, there's nothing, and then the littlest amount touches the baseboard, and she's like, you said nothing, I mean, so that I would rather err on that, because if you're going to tell me you don't want me to soda blast, tell me now.
Yeah.
Don't tell me when we're halfway through the process. I want you to know. I want you to go in this thing with your eyes wide open.
Yeah.
Go ahead, James.
Well, the worst thing I've had is we did a big soda blasting job for close friends of mine, and they didn't really. I probably didn't do the best job of communicating that it could be a decent problem, and it was everywhere. But they also had their regularly scheduled cleaning people come like right before we started the job. So their house was perfectly clean, and they just paid money to have it cleaned. And then that soda was everywhere. And that was like, I tell everyone now, if you're gonna have your house cleaned, just wait until after we're done.
Yeah. I'll never forget the house that we did a gold on, and we soda blasted on a Thursday, the weekend before Christmas, and her house was from the 60s, and the wood had expanded a lot, and so lo and behold, it's the day before Christmas Eve, and she had to have a cleaning service come because we just didn't have the wherewithal to think ahead. But Michael, I'd also like to ask you, in my experience, I remember one specific house that we soda blasted in, and the entire first floor was either carpet or large vinyl tiles. That house, I remember not only not really seeing a residue of soda, but not seeing at all residue in the air inside the house. Have you experienced that maybe carpet or vinyl is better in terms of residue inside the house than maybe wood?
Yeah, and I'm not sure it's the actual material. I think it's how the material is installed. So usually carpet, you can push it under the baseboard,
right?
Because you got that extra. Where hardwood, for example, they leave almost an expansion joint around the edge, which means that there's more direct air to the crawl space at that expansion joint. So I would think tile would be similar because there's an expansion joint, or maybe they don't go all the way to the framing, the outside framing, because of the baseboard, right? So I think it's not necessarily the material, but how the material is installed. Is probably the driver of whether more soda comes in or not.
Yeah,
right.
Well, we had a customer about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. He had a great point. Like, the more soda you have come into your house when we're soda blasting, that's how much more air leakage you have from your crawl space. So even more so, you needed it done, because you're breathing that mold even more.
Absolutely. And like a tongue and groove, subfloor is going to have more joints, more air spaces versus, a plywood or an OSB, so it just all depends on the construction. Right. Those are great questions, Mason. And I, like I said, I've filled up more homes with soda than probably anybody combined, because I had this one situation, and that's the other reason why we have a ninja up in the house, is to watch to make sure, because I've trusted the homeowner, right? To watch, and they get busy. They don't know what to look for. You know, I've had two situations. I had a homeowner who had their teenage son watch. Well, that didn't turn out very well. Not well at all. I'll just say that. And then I had another one where the homeowner watched, but she worked from home. This was pre-COVID. She worked from home, and she had an office that was on a slab off of the main part of the house. And she went into that office and closed the door. And here we are thinking she's up there watching. Well, about the time we're done soda blasting, she decides to come out of her office, and it looked like it had just, I mean, it looked like the Arctic. There was soda everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and this was before we learned to air seal the subfloor and turn off the AC, you know, all these things that we do now. This was me still learning the process. And, you know, what was so great, and I'm not bragging on us, but we still turned that into a 5-star review because I recognized that we had messed up. I paid to have it cleaned. I paid to have her carpets cleaned. I did all that, and they wrote us a 5-star review. And I've never had that situation happen again because of what we learned from that scenario. And that's how long ago that was. That was many, many years ago. That's not like it happened last week. So anyway, that's the other nice thing about us is we try to learn from our mistakes, right? You know, to do things differently. So that's why we don't allow, you know, the teenage son to watch, because I've had bad experiences with that. But anyway, yeah, these are great questions. So, Mason, I'm gonna let you answer this one. How long does the process take? Let's say we got 1,500 square foot crawl space.
Yeah.
What's the timeline on just for soda blasting? Forget about encapsulation, all that. Just for soda blasting, how long does that typically take?
So 1,500 square feet, I'd say that's a pretty typical house for us. You know, we've seen bigger than 2,000. We see less than 1,000, but I feel like 1,500 is pretty typical. We typically expect that we are able to pull the insulation, maybe do clean out and soda blasting. Sometimes, most of the time, it really just depends on how the house is. But we can, on some cases, I feel like we can do clean out and then start soda blasting. Soda blasting will maybe take 5-6 hours. And then, you know, we're ready to move on from there. Sometimes I know that we'll do a half a day of clean out and then we'll start soda blasting. And then, it takes a little longer than that. That's really something that I'm still trying to really hone in on is that expectation of time.
Okay. Well, and to be fair, again, another loaded question because it kind of does depend on how thick the mold is on there. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you got a lot of wood decay fungus on there, that dude's going to take longer than one that's got just a light, you know, white mold or a light brown mold. So
yeah, I mean, as much to that as if you have a crawl space that's 4.5 cinder blocks high or a crawl space that's 2, I think that can affect the process so much. So it's really a tough question.
Yeah, because you know that low crawl. I mean, I'm 6'1", you know, 6 foot 1 inch tall, and a low crawl space. It's harder for me to turn around in. It's almost like an aircraft carrier trying to turn around in the water, right? It just takes a while, right? But if I get in there and I'm in a 3.5, 4 foot tall, that's like the ideal size for me because I can still sit down, you know, and work and move very well. So that's good. James, a follow-up question to that. We've mainly been talking about baking soda and all that, and you kind of mentioned the Anabec product. What do we do immediately after we soda blast it? What do we apply after and why? Can you kind of share with us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, once the mold's been removed, then we spray the Anabec peroxide cleaner to sanitize everything down in the crawl space, make sure all surfaces are covered, the air's like anything that's in the air has been killed, all the mold's dead.
Yeah, and that's a really great point because 2 things. The reason why I like to apply Anabec is for 2 reasons. Number one, like you said, you can really only soda blast hardwood surfaces. We can't get down there and soda blast somebody's ductwork because then we'll just rip it to shreds. So the Anabec, the peroxide, it's nice to fog that afterwards so that any other materials. I mean, I've even seen like PVC grow mold. You know, so you know, anything that's wet can grow mold. I've seen glass grow mold. It wasn't that the glass itself grew mold; it was just the dirt on the glass was growing mold, right? So you know, that's the other reason why I like to fog. And then secondly, a liquid can penetrate deeper into the wood than obviously soda can. So if for some reason there's a deep root system or something like that inside the wood, we like to saturate that wood so that that peroxide cleaner can get into that wood and kill anything that might be inside of it. So great answers though. I like that.
2 questions, Michael. One would be, does the baking soda, does it actually kill the mold?
It does. It does because of its alkalinity.
Okay.
It does kill the mold, just like it kills the grass, right? But that's not the main reason why I use it. The main reason why I came up with the soda was to remove the mold. So for me, the removal of it is the most important side of it, and then the Anabec is more the killer side of it. But yes, it does kill mold too. So.
And you ever see mold growing on like concrete block or brick?
Usually, if it's not painted, concrete block in a crawl space, if you see a white color, a lot of times that's efflorescence. Now, I'm not saying that concrete cannot grow mold, because obviously it can. Right. If something is on there, that can grow mold. But for me, most of the time, concrete and brick and things like that grows mold more if it's got a food source, like a paint that's been applied to it.
Because every once in a while, I've seen like kind of like a black furry mold grow kind of at the bottom of the concrete block.
Sure.
And I've only seen it probably 2 or 3 times, but I have seen it.
All right. So those of you that don't know, let me explain this to you. Do you know where most toxic molds come from?
I don't.
Okay. I don't expect y'all to know this because we're not microbiologists. Obviously, we don't study mold; we kill it, right? But I've spoken to a lot of microbiologists. I've interviewed them, and we've had a lot of talks. Most toxic mold, your Stachybotrys, those types of molds, actually come from the soil.
Oh, really?
Okay. So what you're alluding to, James, is where the brick or the block at the base, which is where the soil is, right? So that's why you're seeing that.
Oh.
Okay, is because that soil either is contaminating that low section, or even maybe on the brick or the block at that point, and that could grow mold.
Got it.
Okay, now it's completely what's the word I'm looking for? There's no reason to try to kill mold in the soil. Okay. Because it would be like trying to kill mold on wet wood and you never dried the wood out. It's just going to come right back. So the soil is always going to hold a certain amount of moisture, especially us in North Carolina and Tennessee. We got a lot of clay soil, which means it's got a lot of organic material in there that is a food source for mold. So that's why we don't really try to kill what's in the soil, because it's irrelevant. There's no way you could do it. But that's why you're probably seeing that line that you're talking about, is because of the soil. So one of the things that I've learned over the years, and I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but taking off your shoes at the door helps to prevent a lot of mold tracking into your home. Because if you go out and play with your kids in the grass, that's where a lot of mold comes from, is the soil. So, you know, having that habit of like taking your shoes off at the door has been proven to be pretty effective at keeping mold from spreading a lot of times. So just because it comes from the soil. What do you think about cost effectiveness? Is the soda blasting treatment that we use cost effective for a homeowner, and why? If either one of you want to answer that.
When you think about cost effectiveness, I think about doing it once and having it done forever. Like it's gone. So yeah, on the front end, soda blasting is going to be more expensive than just doing a spray and pray, fogging, or even somebody's going down there and hand wiping it with a chemical. A soda blasting is no doubt going to be more expensive than that, but it's going to be gone. So when you go to sell that house eventually, there will be no visible evidence of mold as long as it's been encapsulated properly and the moisture's been removed. So It's not cheap by any means, but as far as never having to worry about it again, never have to pay for it to be done again, then yes.
James, you're always really good about this, and what I found out is that they say it's about the money and how expensive it is, but it's really about the value.
Right.
And so when you realize that's what they're really is the heart of the issue. It's just important to understand really what this is, because in our market, nobody else does this. So it's a game changer into something different. And I think education, and James, you do a great job with this. And I think just bringing people up to speed with what this process is, what it looks like, how effective it is, it's going to build value in your investment. I know for me, my why, a lot of nights when I go to bed, I got a text from a lady, Ms. Williams, that we were on her job a couple weeks ago, and she sent me this text, and her life has changed. She had these horrible allergies, and she couldn't figure out where it's coming from, and she was just wrecked. Her health was just wrecked, and we soda blasted there. And in the few days since we've been there, she texted me and told me how well she's doing, and it's just you can't put a dollar figure on that. That's a game changer for people.
To your point, James, and to your point, Doug, I have had the privilege of speaking to hundreds of homeowners across the country. And a lot of times people will do a consultation with me to discuss, because, Crawl Space Ninja isn't everywhere. And they'll do a consultation with me to discuss what these other companies are going to do to their home. And there's a gentleman in Virginia Beach who holds the record for the most consultations with me ever. I won't tell you how many, but there was a company out there, and I want to talk about two things that was happening to him. Was there were companies that said, "Oh yeah, we do soda blasting," and because he'd watched a lot of our videos, he wanted his crawl space soda blasted, and then he would call these companies. They would get out there, and then they would pull the bait and switch. They'd be like, "Yeah, we don't really do the soda blasting, but we sub it out. And it's super expensive. You don't want to do that. We want you to do this, which is really cheap," right? Because when you don't have a good product, everything you're doing is based on price, right? And this guy was telling me the story, and I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." And then they went along to say, "Yeah, our method, we'll probably have to treat it every couple of years with our method because the mold's going to come back." Now, they weren't putting in a dehumidifier. They weren't even really encapsulating, right? So soda blasting, again, doesn't keep the mold from coming back. You got to do all those other things too. But that just really struck me as like, okay, first of all, the bait and switch is just, that would be like us saying, "Oh yeah, we're plumbers." And then you call us out there and you would go down there, "Oh, we don't really do plumbing, but you got mold in your crawl space. You want us to address that?" I mean, that was like, why would you do something like that? But then again, like you said, Doug, that value, we like to call it a worry-free crawl space, a one and done. I've always said there's nothing more expensive than having to do something over, right? And if you all want to see that, if you're watching this video and you want to see the do-over, check out that we redid a $25,000 crawl space encapsulation video. It's one of our top performing videos. He was a judge here locally in Knoxville, and he had his crawl space encapsulated, paid a pest control company $25,000 to do it, and then paid us $40,000 to fix it. Right. Just to give you an idea. Now, to be fair, this is like almost a 4,000 square foot crawl space. So those of you that just, had a heart attack because I said $40,000 to fix your crawl space, it does, a 4,000 square foot roof costs a lot more to shingle than a 500 square foot roof. So, there's a lot that goes into the pricing here, but the point is that you gotta make sure you do it right.
Yeah.
And if you don't have access to a company that does it right, that's why a lot of people will do it themselves. That's where the DIYer comes in, and I hate to say it, but there's people in Charlotte. I don't care how good you guys are, Doug. They won't hire you to do it because they want to do it themselves. That's just the way it is. And that's why we create this content, because we recognize that those homeowners are out there. They don't want a contractor come in their house at all. Either they don't trust you or they don't have the money to do it. And a lot of people, it's the trust factor. They've been wrecked by so many contractors out there, that they just don't trust them anymore. And, to be fair, I can see that. I mean, residential remodelers have the worst rating on the Better Business Bureau of any industry in America.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably have sat across the table from somebody who had money stolen from them. Oh yeah, I paid them 25% down and they never showed up, or they never finished the job. Right. Well, that's where we're different. We're a customer service company that just so happens to fix crawl spaces, because our focus, Doug, wouldn't you agree? Our focus has always been on customer service.
Yeah, I've always felt like one of the best things about Crawl Space Ninja is that, my wife and I we're both Charlotteans. Mason's a Charlottean. James has three really incredible little boys, and they're part of the community. And I don't want to go to dinner and have to run to the restroom because I didn't finish your crawl space, or I took advantage of you. And just as a person, Michael, that's been really tough for me to be lumped in the category of so many bad contractor experiences, because that's just not who we are. But I do understand it. I talked to a gentleman this morning. I'm sure has a history of being burned by other contractors, and has been on guard. And so it's a challenge to then elevate ourselves to then make sure they know that we're not like that. And then we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to elevate ourselves and reassuring people that we're not like that. So the bar sometimes is low, which is good, and that we can do that. But that's really important. Again, nobody wants to run to the restroom and hide when we see you.
Well, and that's why I brought up the point about we do mess up. We are human. Just like the lady with the soda blast that went all in her house. I mean, I messed up. I obviously didn't take caution to keep that from happening. So I paid for it. I fixed it. And sometimes we have to pay for things that we didn't mess up, but the homeowner thinks we did it. So we do it anyway, right? I mean, that's just part of being in business. But, to me, the Bible talks about how a good name is to be chosen, So if you're going to have a good name, it's a choice. You don't accidentally have a 4.9 star rating. That's not by accident. Yeah, you can maybe get the numbers up and having up your cousins and your mom and all that, right? Your rating. But eventually you're going to run out of those people. And then, the truth is going to come to the surface. And that's why we try to be really good at what we do. And if we do mess up, we try to fix it, right? I mean, that's the whole point. So if you're watching this video, hopefully you'll see that as us as a company, not only here in Knoxville, but in Charlotte and Delaware and in every area that we are. That's what we try to be. So anyway, gentlemen, I really appreciate y'all joining me today. And I felt like this is a great video for people to get to know you all there in the Charlotte area. So anything to add before I let you go?
No,
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. It was nice to meet you and just get to talk to you and ask my questions.
Yeah, very nice to meet all of you as well. And I had the pleasure of knowing Doug. How long now, Doug? Has it been 3 years?
Man, I think you and I first met in 2020.
5 years.
Yeah, going on almost 5 years. And look, I honestly, personally, I was super pumped to be talking today, because I really wanted you to meet James and Mason. And James has been with us over 3 years and is such a big part of why we're successful. And Mason does an incredible job with our customers and as our job coordinator. And again, Michael, you and I know each other very well, but it was mostly exciting for you to meet these two guys. They're such a great part of our success.
Yeah. And just so you know, this is James Taylor, but not the musician James Taylor.
There'll be no singing for me.
Well, it was a pleasure and an honor to meet both of you all as well. So appreciate y'all being on this call with me. And I'm Michael Church with Crawl Space Ninja. We hope you make it a happy and blessed day, and we'll see you later.